See, you can have whatever you like.
Welcome on in here, guys. Welcome to the Broke Spokers podcast. I'm your host, Dewuan. I know that the focus of the podcast is on, adjusting the broke mentality, but I think it's important that we understand the types of businesses that are out there that are predatory to keeping us broke, and they're fully and 100% against the cause of us not being broke. And what I mean by that, we'll just go down and name off some of these businesses. You have title loans, payday loans, you have towing services or tow truck businesses. That's in a different sense where they don't directly come after us. They, contract with these apartments and stuff and tow broke people cars. I'll expand on these in a little bit. You got liquor stores on every corner, in poor neighborhoods. These places, they target the poor communities because you don't find, you don't have you go to somebody's apartments, right? And these are, usually in the poor communities. You go to their apartment, you don't register. You say you forget to register your car and, park and do all of that stuff. Then you come out and your car is gone. They will tow your stuff and then it costs you an automatic $300 off the rip. You usually don't have that $300, but you got to come up with it because it's going to go up by the day. About $25 to $50 a day, every day that it's in there that you don't come up with that money, the cost is going to go up that much. So, those are the type of businesses. The reason why I say they're predatory, or that particular business is predatory, because they don't, if you go into like these nicer neighborhoods and stuff, parking is just parking and you don't have to register your car and they don't tow it. I mean, the people who could probably afford to have their cars towed, nobody wants their car towed, but the people who it wouldn't hurt to have to go and pick their car up, they don't have to deal with that because those towing services don't exist in their neighborhood. And it's weird that, I haven't fully thought out the reason why they target the poor communities, because you would think they would go after people who could afford it. I would venture to guess that it's because people who can't afford it are probably more likely to make the mistake and have their car towed. And then as far as following rules, but then also they wouldn't put up a fuss. They just come up with the money somehow, pay it, and get their car out and just be mad. Nothing they can do about it, right? People with money could probably cause an uproar, sue the company, sue the apartments, or just choose not to live in those apartments. And that might be the reason right there, where these people can't afford nicer apartments where they don't tow, so they have to stick it out. That's enough on the tow trucks. We all know that is a whole racket, but I won't go too far in on that. Title loans, payday loans, pawn shops, all of these places like that where they pretend to be your friend. They pose every situation, every interaction as if they're doing you a huge favor and they're hooking you up. We got you. Come on in. We got you. You can borrow money. Even like these loans, payday loans off like Chime and stuff like that. In Cash App, they send you notifications like, oh, you can borrow up to $200. You can borrow up to $500. And the problem with that is people borrow that money not really knowing how they're going to pay it back. So it's and the reason why, and I'll tell you this, the reason why people borrow this money and go into these places like this is because they need that instant gratification for money right now. A lot of people usually go and get these loans when rent is due or a car note is due. Actually, they can't get a title loan if the car note is due because they don't have the title. But they get these loans when the rent's due or when something is due. And they always have the intention of paying it back before the interest kicks in. But that never happens. Nobody ever pays it because between the time they borrow that money and between the time they get paid, something else didn't happen. And I'll pay this and spend this right now. And I'll just push the title loan back down the road. And next thing you know, the interest kicks in and you end up paying 2, 3, 4 times the amount that you borrowed. Thus, the toxic, vicious cycle of broke. So let's say that the rent is due, right? People fail to realize this. I don't understand why people don't think like this, and maybe it's not that simple, but hopefully if you can hear this right now and it'll click into you that it is that simple, and maybe next time you are up for a payday loan or a title loan or anything like that, you will think to stay away. So let's say the rent is due. You don't have any of it because you haven't budgeted properly. Maybe you don't have most of it. Your rent's $1,200. that will give you a title loan for $1,500 for the value of your car is what they value it at $1,500. And like, man, we can get you a lot of money for this car. And they don't want your car, mind you. I'll get to that later. They will frame it like they're hooking you up. All right, they give you the $1,500. Your rent was due on the 1st. Ugh. Let's rewind this real quick. So the rent's due on the 1st. This is a broke thing too. The rent's due on the 1st. You get late fees after the 7th. You know the rent's due on the 1st. So, but people usually try to pay their rent. They don't, in their mind, like, oh, rent's due on the 7th. I can't have it no later than the 7th. Instead of rent's due on the 1st when it's actually due and I need to have it by the 7th. They just think, oh, I can just pay it by the 7th. The whole 1st is out of the window. They don't really think about it. It is the 7th when it's due, and otherwise it's going to be late fees. And people hate paying late fees, and they don't like to be late. I have some close family members that would stake their reputation on not paying anything late, even though they would go broke to not pay anything late or put themselves in more debt to not pay something late. I think they call it robbing Peter to pay Paul. Rent's due on the 1st. You pay it on the 7th so you don't pay any late fees. Now, the late fees are probably what? $50 initially and then like $10 a day after that. So let's say that the 1st is on a Monday and you get paid on Thursday or Friday. That's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80, no more than $100 in late fees, right? If you just wait until you get paid to pay it. People go in and get this title loan for $1,500. They'll borrow that $1,500, pay their rent on the 7th. Let's go back, because I know I said the 1st was on a Monday, but like let's say the 7th when the rent is due, and I'm doing air quotes for you guys that are listening on the podcast, is on a Monday, and you don't have the money until you get paid on Thursday or Friday. So the $100 in late fees is basically all you would have to pay. So instead of your rent being $1,200, you pay $1,300. Now, you go and get this title loan, $1,500, you got rent and then some, right? So you pay your rent, everything's cool, no late fees. You think in your mind, you have that period of no interest. So you're thinking like, oh, I can just pay this back with my next check, which usually by then something will come up. You end up kicking the can down the road and then the interest kicks in on that title loan. Mind you, the minimum payments are actually on this kind of loan. Sometimes they can get up to like $600, right? So you're going to pay the minimum payment of $600 on that title loan to keep them from towing your car. And you kind of stuck there because if you don't have a car, you can't go to work, you can't get around, you can't do this or that. And the main thing is you can't get to work. So you pay that $600 a month every month. And that's just, none of that's going towards the principal, and that's just the interest, right? Because it's such a high interest rate. This is sickening to me, guys, and I don't understand why people do it. I don't even understand why these businesses are legal. Now, people fail to realize that paying this $600 a month, and they're stuck in that, and they usually like pay it off at income tax. I've seen it before. They wait till they get their income tax to pay that title loan off so they can keep their car, and a lot of times their car is not even worth the money that they've spent. You know, by this time you've already paid about 2 or 3 times or more, more than what you borrowed. People will pay all of that money and then they'll finally pay it off at income tax and then go back into that cycle once they get into the pinch again. Now, try to take this. If you are paying $600 a month, $300 to $600 a month on your old car that you had a title loan on and you needed to get the title loan on because you were broke. That is money that you could have let that go, kick in the reset button and be paying for a brand new car. I pay $650 a month for my brand new car, while a close family member of mine was paying $650 a month for a title loan on a vehicle that was probably 15 years older than my car and definitely broke down and not worth it. But I had a hard time convincing them that vehicle needs to go. The whole point is people get into these title loans and they, is like, instead of paying back or putting yourself under all of that stress, for one, paying back 2 or 3 times the title loan, the simple thing would have to do, if you couldn't pay the rent on time, was just pay the $100 in late fees when you got paid. That would have solved the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of misery. If you just, instead of needing to pay the rent so it wouldn't be late, pay $100 in late fees instead of paying $3,000 in interest fees on a title loan. And also, same thing with pawn shop. You go take something into the pawn shop, you pawn it. They give you pennies on the dollar for what it's worth, and and that stuff is like valuable to you. Holds a lot of sentimental value at most times, and that's why they hold it over your head and keep you paying for it. I had a good buddy of mine that I used to work with. He was telling me that he had an iMac that he had pawned, and this was an older iMac and he said he had that thing in there for like 5-6 years, and computers don't hold value that long these days, guys. And so by the time, and if he was ever able to pay off that loan from the pawn shop, that computer was obsolete, and it sat there for a long time, but he paid good money for it when he got it. And by the time he was able to use it again, it was obsolete. So he basically just sat there wasting his money on, paying the minimum for the stuff that he pawned. Like, we got to stay away from these businesses, guys. Like, I mean, the alternative is to get some discipline, shift your mindset. That's what it would take to not feel like you need to go to these places and actually have, pay your money up front to not need, get into those pinches. And actually, like I said in the last episode, you can save your money, save your income tax. Don't go and buy something like 1 year or 2 years if you're in debt. 1 year, just put that money aside and don't touch it. Break glass in case of emergency. That's it. And also be real with yourself on what an emergency is. So I'm going to talk about my personal experience with title loans and the reason how I realized that it was such a ripoff. And I told myself at that time, no more. I will never, ever do it again. I did it twice, though. The first time got me on a Cadillac. Years ago, it was on a Cadillac. I got a title loan on the Cadillac. I think it was for about $1,000. I forget the reason that I needed to, but I got it. And I was paying on it, and I said to myself that I would pay it back before the interest kicked in. That did not happen. So I'm paying the minimum, which is, a bunch of money, like $200-$300 a month. I'm paying the minimum, squeezing that out every month, and it was really keeping me kind of in the same situation that, for the reason I needed the money for. So it really got me nowhere. It just kicked the can down the road to be broke again next month and the next month and the next month and the next month. Long story short on that one, I blew a head gasket on that Cadillac. So I couldn't afford to fix the engine and pay the title loan. So I just told the title loan company, hey, come get it. I just kind of counted my losses at that point. The engine's no good. I can't do anything with it. So I'm definitely not going to pay this title loan. They have to come get the car, So they came and got the car. A week later, 2 weeks later, hey, we're going to reach a settlement with you on, this car. How about you give us $300 and we'll give you your car back. You'll still owe on the title loan, but you can have your car back. Oh, no, that's fine. Y'all can keep it. Click. Call back again. All right, how about this? You can just give us $300 for the car and you can have it outright. You can have your title back. No, I'm good. You can keep it. Click. So it's like, because I'm going to pay that $300 and then I still have to go get the car fixed. I'm like, no. Or they tell you themselves at that point, oh, we're not in the business of buying cars. We're loaning you money. Yeah, of course you're not in the business of buying cars because when that car is worthless, you don't want it. But you gladly take my money when that car is worth something to me. Then it happened to me again. I got a title loan on a Honda Accord that I had. Long story short on that, the reverse ended up going out and then somebody stole it from out in front of the house. And, the title loan company kind of did that same song and dance. And I'm just like, no, man. And in the time between like losing those cars to breakdowns and theft, it was such a miserable time trying to keep the title loan paid so that I can keep a vehicle and keep getting around. And then once that vehicle was gone, and then the stress of the title loan was gone in turn, I mean, my mind's clear to make moves and do better things and things that made more sense with my money as far as, getting to work and paying for the vehicle and whatever, what have you. So title loans, payday loans, all of that stuff, no go. It's no good. Payday loans, I mean, I don't know. I don't really remember. Like I said, I think they take your check when you get it. But a lot of that stuff is really just setting you behind the curve, So if you can avoid getting these loans, unless you have a purpose for a loan, stay away from loans in general, guys. Unless you have a purpose and, you're you have the discipline to use that loan properly and, because first of all, loans aren't free money. I used to think that when I was a youth, and I see a lot of kids today, growing into adulthood, and they're like, oh, a loan's free money. Credit card, free money. No, stay away from that, guys. Don't get a loan unless you know how you're going to pay it back and you have the discipline to do it and use it properly. Sometimes the fees of what you'll get for being late is way less than what that loan is going to cost you. So I implore you guys, stay away from these predatory businesses. Once that happened to me, man, I got those title loans and that stress, man, I just told myself never again. Once I realized, I sat back and realized that, I borrowed $1,000, but I paid them $3,000 by the time my car broke down. I'd already paid them $3,000, and I still owed that $1,000 back because that was all in interest. All right, guys. Hopefully, you guys picked something up from this, and I hope you can be real with yourself. And if you have a family member or yourself, and you can resonate with this title loan, payday loan situation, even if you guys want to talk about this tow truck situation, if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and slide into my DMs on Instagram or leave a comment on the YouTube video for this episode. I appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate you for sticking around. Remember, you can have whatever you like. It ain't tricking if you got it. Tell them other broke spokers be quiet.